All right. I hope that a lot of you guys that are in the league took some time to gather your thoughts, take a deep breath, and kind of realize what's ahead of you in the future. I think every year we go through a saying and we always say, this is like I've never seen this many injuries in a week. But I can flat out tell you in the history of football that this week 2 in 2020 was probably the worst of all time. It's not even just scrubs, it's stars that went down. And you had a lot of people that were getting hurt earlier on in the season. And I think, hindsight is, guys, that I think it's because they're not practicing in full pads. They haven't, gotten used to that kind of contact, and maybe their bodies haven't gotten acclimated to it in the practice field. And that's probably what's going to happen. You're going to have some Joe Schmo doctor that's going to come out and explain why this is happening, because there's going to be some special on it. I know there's a lot of fantasy doctors out there now, which is like, not that they needed any more money as it is, but you're going to start to see a lot of that. And I think just kind of evaluating from that, it's bad. It is bad. And this has to be the absolute worst that I've seen. Everybody here can kind of say to themselves, you know what, Nick, I fully agree with what you just said. I don't think you can kind of say to yourself, no, I disagree. The amount of names, and I'm obviously not going to name all of them because I think there's a lot. I think the whole 49ers team, really? Barkley and McCaffrey, the number 1 and 2 pick, one's done for the year. The other's probably done for at least half the season. He might even be shut down the rest of the season because the Panthers aren't going anywhere, if you ask me. Cortland Sutton, phenomenal guy as well, who went down. The list goes on and on, guys. Will Fuller, he was going to get hurt anyway, but are you kidding me, man? Wow. Yep. That's all I have to say, man. There's really, and it's affected a lot of our teams. And I honestly think, though, if you have not caught the injury bug, there's a lot of teams that I'm not big on that I think now have a position to kind of sneak into the playoffs as like a 6 and, what do we have, 7 games? Like, there might be a losing record playoff team, in my opinion, because it's going to look ugly, and you're going to see point totals be probably the lowest scoring. My estimation was, I thought, with no fans and high-powered offenses, I thought this was going to be an outlier year. It is, but I think it's going to be the other way around. Okay, so let's recap the games. I'm sorry if any of you had, called the shit end of the stick. I know Devontae Adams was the other big name too. It sucks. Bottom line, we had the first game, myself versus Patrick. Saquon Barkley goes out. It was a wrap after that. Paris Campbell goes out, so I lost 2 guys. Yeah, nothing really to talk here. I think Patrick got by with 116 points. I was kind of shocked that it did come down to a 50-50 coin flip between Lockett and Kamara. I did expect to kind of get blown out, and I didn't. So, ugly thing here, man. Not really much to take away, except one team is really they're praying for anything, and the other one got the victory. So, next one we have, this one exceeded expectations, I'll admit. Coffey versus Andre. Andre's team definitely exceeded expectations in this one. Again, this Jonnu Smith, the guy doesn't really even run routes. They just hide him and he gets open somehow. It's the weirdest thing, and it's not sustainable. This is why he pops off for 3 weeks a year, and then you hope for something good, and then he always gets 4 points. But they're finding ways how to get him utilized, which is something we would always want to see. So that's a plus. Andre, I really did think after you got Tannehill, you were going to plug and play him, and I thought you had the stack going. And you didn't, and I think it cost you, but nothing to be ashamed of. The Will Fuller donut, though, almost did cost Mr. Coffey. It did not. So some interesting things here. Again, one of these teams I'm not very big on. However, they might have a good chance now with the injuries to everybody else. The Coffey team finally showed a lot of life. He had both of his backs get the work that they needed. Keep in mind, Chris Godwin was not playing in this game, and he did put up a 128, which I do think is impressive in its own. So he moves on to a bye week this week. Next, we have Alex and Krier. Crier's team played. I see. I'm big on Crier's team. It's probably the best 0-2 team. I think nobody's going to argue that. Um, yeah, I guess things didn't break right for him this week, and now you're seeing Alex slowly is progressively putting up a decent amount of points after 2 weeks, hitting at least 120 in both weeks, which is something that you'd like to see. Josh Jacobs didn't get 3 touchdowns, but this time Nick Chubb was the guy who stepped up for him. So you love to see that combo kind of syncing. They're not syncing together, but when one's not doing anything, the other steps up. I am kind of concerned from the flex position on the Alex squad because I do think that there might be some inconsistencies there, but I do think that Krier is probably going to be the first 0-2 team to get his first victory. That's just my opinion. Yeah, this game, look, I don't know if it would have mattered in the outcome of the game, and I'm going to double check because I want to make sure that I hit my points exact. No, it wouldn't have mattered. So, hindsight, oh, it wouldn't have mattered, and I get that, but my God. I mean, why did you draft DJ Chark and Terry McLaurin in the first place if you're going to bench them after week 1? That's why I literally thought, hey, hit me up. Look, it didn't cost you, but again, this is when getting too cute is going to cost you. I mean, 68 points. Look, I can't talk. My team hasn't broken 100 yet, but my God, what is that? The Johnny side of things, decent, but obviously we're going to talk about the new and improved roster, if you will, with him. Still a lot of concerns I have on the Johnny side of the ball, but now I think we have filled one hole, which I think everybody has an opinion on the trade. It's whatever. It's legal. Bottom line is this. It's legal. It's the only thing I can say. Game ball has to go to this guy. And look, you can say, oh, we've seen this before. Oh, we know he's going to fuck it up somehow because he's point chasing Paul. But this is now 2 weeks in a row this kid has gone over 140. He laid a 185. Oh my God, I didn't even realize Harsh put up 143. My mistake. I didn't even realize that. The Waller game, I guess, inflated your stats because he's a beast. But my God, what a shootout. This was easily the matchup of the week. It lived up to expectations. The Devontae Adams injury, though, it would have been nice to see if he stayed healthy. I don't think Harsh would have won, but you could have seen some fireworks, like 180 to like 160 something. That is impressive stuff, man. Both these teams have a bright future, although one is dealing with the injury bug, so they're going to have to kind of manage through that. And I don't know if it's going to cost them any pieces that they're going to be moving around. So it is something that I want to look into as far as what management is going to happen. Because again, I've stood behind one of these managers, but he has had some boneheaded decisions in the past. The other one, I mean, he's staying the course. And as of right now, if you want to get technical, yes, Philip Lindsay is an injury that you had to have, but he was never your starter anyway. As of right now, your guys and all the trades that you have done have worked out in your favor. So I got to give you props for it because usually you hit one trade and then there's always one where, oh my God, you lost this trade. But if we look at recent history, you've won a decent amount of trades. I think the one big one that stands out is the selling low on Nick Chubb where David won the league. And I think people will always look at that and point the finger at you. And look, it's understandable, but you've wheeled and dealed. You got Kareem Hunt, which to me was the easiest accept offer. Tyler Boyd proved to do good and Malcolm Brown got hurt. And the Darren Waller for Stephon Diggs worked out in your favor because Stephon Diggs is proving every person wrong, although let's temper expectations because he did go against 2 soft matchups. But look, I'm liking what I'm seeing with Stephon Diggs a lot. And that was one of my guys that I think I was afraid that I was going to be wrong about was, maybe Josh Allen did just need a guy. Bottom line, game ball, well done, Mr. Paul. Well done, Mr. Paul. So we'll get into the bids next. Okay, let's talk about what happened in the bidding process. I think the only reason you wanted to bid this week was if you suffered a lot of injuries. Bottom line, if you were in no need and you had depth, there was no point for you to bid on anybody. Point blank. And I think everybody did their part. I think everybody did their part that had enough depth, that did not suffer big injuries from Devontae Adams to Christian McCaffrey to Saquon Barkley to Cortland Sutton. I think those major pieces that are obviously going to impact your fantasy team, if you didn't lose those guys, in my personal professional opinion, I don't think there was a guy out there that you could have bid on that was going to be, a guy that you could quote unquote rely on week in and week out. I think these are just flyer guys. And unfortunately, if you're desperate enough, such as myself, you have to take a risk somewhere, because if the more and more you wait around, it's whatever. So let's talk about the first guy, which I do agree with on this. And there was only 2 tight ends that were worth gambling on. And that was Drew Sample and Dalton Schultz. So point blank, I don't know why if you had a bid on him, it's not coming up. I guess it's because I'm the only one who bid on him, which I find that to be false, because there's definitely got to be somebody in there that threw a $0 bid on the guy. But okay, Drew Sample going for $27. How am I grading this bid? I'm going to give it a C-. I like Drew Sample, but unless Karsh, you're relying on starting tight ends, there's no need for you to have Drew Sample. Darren Waller is an elite tight end. And if you're not going to use him anymore, I would love to be reunited with the beast, Wall Street, because that guy, probably one of my favorite tight ends. And me being a West Coast Raiders fan, if you want to call it that, then fine. I don't see the need for you to go after Drew Sample. No, this is not me being salty because I had Schultz over him just because of the better offense he plays in. But it just didn't make any sense. I think he was worth bidding on. But in your case, look, you know how to manage things, and I know you, in my professional opinion, I think you're trying to sell Waller for a decent piece, because if you're going to sell him, this is probably the best week to sell him, because he's not going to get you a lot of 20-point games. He might get you some teen-point games, if you will. Let's talk about Drew Sample after I take this sip. I believe he went in the second round last year. Burrow loves the middle of the field, and as funny as this sounds, CJ Uzomah might have been in for a breakout season for the Bengals. Yeah, I know it sounds gross, but I think the way this offense is maneuvering, he is looking to utilize the tight end a lot. Uzomah lined up out wide. They isolated him. Elite tight ends start to do that. That's what McVay started to do with Tyler Higbee last year. So anytime the offensive coordinator wants to line those guys up on the outside, it's a mismatch. And I don't know if Drew Sample could be that guy, but if he's going to get targeted and this team can't run the ball, AJ Green, his target share is through the roof, but it's why I'm a little concerned about Tyler Boyd, because everybody else, all these weird receivers are going over the middle. It's not just designated for Tyler Boyd. So Drew Sample could definitely be beneficiary of the Uzomah injury, who I think if Uzomah finished the game healthy, I believe that he would have been a pickup. This one, to be honest, I understand a desperation and desperate times call for desperate measures. But when I saw Devonta Freeman go for 60, what was it? 67, a whopping $67. Guys, I get opportunity, but I don't know if you watched film last year, and now the guy is playing on a really bad Giants offensive line. Come on now, bro. I don't like it. I think you're relying on a lot of what's the word? You're relying on a lot of things to break right. I don't see it. I'd be shocked if this guy returns even RB3 value. In my personal opinion, I think that Freeman and Gallman, even, because they're going to have to call him up now, they split the early down work. And I think Dion Lewis, I don't like any of these guys, but if you ask me, I think Dion Lewis is the one to return value, because they're going to be behind in a lot of games. They're going to be in catch-up mode. And I feel like Dion Lewis, I don't expect him to be an RB2. This is not me saying I need help from Dion Lewis. No, I didn't like Dion Lewis in this offense. Dion Lewis could be better like in any other offense but the Giants, but if they're going to be in garbage time, Dion Lewis could be like that Chris Thompson like he was for the Redskins or football team, excuse me. But I'm not big on him, to be honest, Devonta Freeman, because like if Barkley couldn't get anything going on the ground, what makes you think that Devonta Freeman can do it? That's just my personal opinion. I don't see it working out. Other guys that were quote unquote a bid. I talked about Dalton Schultz, only him and Drew Sample. I don't like Dalton Schultz. I had Blake Jarwin, and I'm really upset about this a lot because like That's what I can't even say his name. That's what Blake Jarwin was supposed to be, guys. And I think Dak, I think without Tyron Smith, is looking to dump it off a lot. I think that's why Gallup is not being heavily involved. That's why you're seeing CeeDee Lamb become a great value in the draft because he's going back to these short intermediate, like panicky throws. Schultz doesn't really run a lot of routes. He's not a good football player, but look, give me some exposure to a high-powered offense. Okay, when I talk about desperate, I didn't have any running backs. I had to use some money on Jeff Wilson. David Sutton is the only other one who had a bid offer for him. We don't know the severity of Raheem Mostert. He could be back this week. He could be back next week, or we don't even know without no timetable. But bottom line is this. He is going to be in the 49ers game plan. He is the quote-unquote designated goal line back anyway. This is a soft matchup against the New York Giants. It's a shame, but I had to rely on it. So obviously the desperate teams really made a lot of moves. Other than that, I didn't really see anything else. I did see some pickups. Oh, Mo Alley Cox. I don't know if I talked about him. He had a bid on. I think he was the only one who I had a bid, but he was my third tight end. B Magic, I think he got him for a decent price. If Phillip Rivers stays the quarterback, B Magic, I think he could be fine. I know you just traded for Tyler Higbee, so I don't know where Mo Alley Cox fits into your plans anymore, but he might be a short-term guy. But I do think the size is something that Rivers is going to like to use because in one game of Mo Alley Cox, we've seen him be more utilized than his entire career with Andrew Luck, which says a lot because Rivers is all about height in the middle of the field. So the potential is definitely there. I mean, you always hear about these basketball guys that have this amazing athletic background, and VCU stud, Mo Alley Cox. Why not? Some other notable things. Let me go to the transaction page so I don't miss out because these guys weren't necessarily bids, but okay, here we go. McKissick for $2. David, I guess desperate times call for desperate measures. Big Face Coffee. This is a guy that he was touting. Demir Bird. Look, I think he came through in the Seattle game. I don't know how this passing attack is going to work out. I'll talk about if you have any Patriot guys. I literally just feel like the only guy you want on New England this year is Cam Newton and Julian Edelman when they're going to be in shootouts. But there could be some upside. Gallman was picked up. I don't think he has any value. Jordan Reed, you've got 3 tight ends now, I guess. Deontay Harris, don't know much. I mean, he is a special teams guy, so I think that the guy you might want to look for, Mr. Patrick, if you want exposure to this passing game, would be Deshaun Hamilton. But that's even with Jeff Driscoll. I think everybody takes a hit. So, yep, that's my waiver column. Let's get into the matchups. Okay, I'm going to make a bold statement here. I am going to make a bold statement here because in my opinion, going up into this league, I was in a bad place. I really thought that I was going to be at the worst matchup of the week. But the more and more I looked at it, I just don't see much hope for any of these two teams in this matchup. I'm being a straight shooter here, guys. I don't like what I see now, especially with the McCaffrey injury on David's side of the ball. And Andre's team, aside from like 2 guys week in and week out, there's a lot of concerns here. I know the projections have you at a decent 128. I'm not buying it, and I'll tell you why. David, as somebody who lost their running back in the season, I feel your pain. This is, honestly, David, there is a guy you have in your trading tree that I would highly suggest that you hit up and see if he's willing to keep McCaffrey for a playoff run. That's the move I certainly would do because the depth on your roster right now is absolutely gross. It's depleted. I think you know it. I'm just going to call it how it is. As far as the Andre side of the ball, you have a lot of guys that were just in my bust range. I know one of them is proving me wrong so far. Granted, it was against the Giants. We'll get to the matchups and I'll tell you why. But again, I could have put myself in this position. I do not like what I'm seeing here in this matchup, to be honest. Patty Mahomes against Baltimore, Ryan Tannehill against Minnesota. Vikings defense is absolute atrocious. It is garbage. Tannehill is an efficient guy, though, man. He doesn't throw that much, but I think like this is the weeks you want Tannehill to start because Derrick Henry's not charged. I think Lewis used that analogy. As far as Patrick Mahomes, I know it's the Baltimore Ravens. He hasn't looked good. And I'll admit that as a Pat Mahomes fan, he has not looked good. They are not in sync. They just lost Sammy Watkins. McCole Hardman is a big X factor on Monday night. I do think he's a sneaky play. But look, it's Patrick Mahomes. He was able to do well against this Baltimore Ravens secondary. So I think 2 years in a row now. So I am not at all concerned about matchup-proof Mahomes. Speaking of your boy Mahomes, it went really unnoticed that he dropped 31 points last week. Because I think everybody was so hyped on Dak, Russ, and Kyler that we forgot that he dropped 31 points because he's just that talented. Because it's Pat Mahomes, I'm taking Pat Mahomes. But I do think that Ryan Tannehill, I was surprised he wasn't drafted in our league, to be honest. I do think that Ryan Tannehill has a very good floor of at least 22, though. And it's weird saying that coming out of my mouth, but I do feel like without A.J. Green, I know this Minnesota secondary sucks, but they are looking bad against teams that can air it out deep down the field. I think they should be able to keep everything in front of them in this one because they've looked bad on the back end. But if they play zones and they force, Tannehill to fit it in, like the Titans don't have any deep threats without A.J. Brown. I think Davis could be that guy, but they've just never trusted him to be that guy. I think the intermediate part of the field, if they can't get Henry going, I do think this could be a trap matchup for Ryan Tannehill is what I'm saying, but Vikings look like crap, and I think their offense isn't going to be able to move the ball, so I do think he'll at least hit you 22. The receiver matchups in this one, and they've lowered this guy. They just had him up. I don't know what happened, but DeAndre, Preston Williams, Julio Jones, T.Y. Hilton. Okay. One of the guys I liked on your team, Andre, that I was all right with is Julio Jones, and it says that he re-aggravated the hamstring injury. Something you don't like to see. Julio is a guy who always suits up when he's healthy, so I think you got to like that going into the matchup. I don't think he sits, and it's a beatable one. But T.Y. Hilton, I told you at the hike, and I said it at the draft, I do not want this guy anywhere near my roster once Paris Campbell was anointed the slot. However, Paris Campbell is now hurt. Do they say, T.Y., we need you to go back and play slot? It's a possibility. If that's the case, beautiful for you. Because I think that's the only thing he can do now is catch 10 yards, or passes 10 yards underneath. They have him on the outside, and it's just, I don't know if he looks bad and maybe it's old age, or they're just not utilizing him properly, dude. I am not, like when I heard that, I was completely off of T.Y. Hilton. He was definitely in my bust list. My wide receiver 43 to be exact. It's just not a good fit for him and Rivers to be on there because he's not tall. But you do have Michael Pittman, which is interesting, and I'll talk about that later. But I don't like Hilton, but this is the New York Jets, so I think he could walk his way into the end zone for a touchdown. Let's talk about the matchup, though. So with Hilton, I think, okay, if you're going to tell me that his target share is going to go even higher now with Paris Campbell out, he could probably return value. Julio Jones, another solid matchup. DeAndre Hopkins is another guy that David has to rely on a lot. Look, him and Kyler Murray are in sync. That's great. Preston Williams. Look, I think the Dolphins are just going to chuck it, and they're going to chuck it. He has not looked great. He almost did score a touchdown. I did see that. And then I think Parker caught a 1-yard touchdown. He's clearly, dude, I think he's just second fiddle to Devontae Parker. I know every analyst wants him to take that step. To me, I liked him last year because they didn't have any talent. Williams is a guy that has a great vertical, but I think everything else in his game isn't that impressive. I think he's like he meets the bar. He doesn't exceed anything. Devontae Parker, even not at 100%, is clearly the guy they want to get involved. And Preston Williams plays second fiddle. But the Jags, if you're keeping track of matchups, they're giving up at least 2 wide receivers in back-to-back weeks to produce. Okay, so you have Paris Campbell and Hilton were pretty decent. Like, they got the job done. It wasn't amazing. Last week, Humphreys and Davis scored touchdowns, so maybe you have something to look forward to. But on the contrary, I think Hopkins is a beast. Julio is not 100%, and I don't like Williams and Hilton that much. I lean David in the receiver matchup. David Johnson, Mark Ingram, Joe Mixon, Todd Gurley. you want to talk about something that's just going to make me absolutely puke. It's this, like just talking about these guys, like going head to head. I absolutely despise this. Joe Mixon has not looked good. Joe Mixon, you can't even like sell him right now. Philly defense that is still, you know, they're decent against the run. They're not lockdown city like they have been the last few years. Mixon not being involved in the passing game really, really caps his upside. I don't like it. Can't even speak. God damn, dude. It's just I hate these guys so much. Give me 10 points for Mixon. Gurley's trash. We know this. Without a touchdown, he's getting you like 5 points. David Johnson, another guy that I am not afraid to express my opinion about. This is not a good matchup for him again. And unless he's catching 10 balls, he's not going to return value. Book me down David Johnson, 7 points. Mark Ingram, I think, is the only guy that I think I like a lot in this head-to-head matchup. The Kansas City run D is always going to be their biggest weakness. But he's in the weirdest split committee. I don't think we're ever going to know who's going to get the touchdowns a week-in-week basis, man. I hate to say it, I think workload is guaranteed for Andre. That's a given, but I don't like it. If you ask me which one of these running backs has the most chance to score a touchdown, it's Mark Ingram. Give me David. Tight end, okay, everybody likes this. Tight end number 1 of the year, Jonnu Smith. That's not a typo. Jared Cook. Okay, let me just flat out say this, as I said to Beat Magic. You don't want anything other than Alvin Kamara in the Saints passing attack. I thought Cook would have been a great sleeper, but they're too predictable when they don't have Michael Thomas. I hate to admit it, but I think you ride the hot hand with Jonnu Smith as long as A.J. Brown is that, so I'll take Andre on that one. Here's a guy whose points went up. D-Jax, Christian Kirk, Melvin Gordon, David Montgomery. Okay, let me just say that D-Jax and Wentz have not connected yet, which is concerning because we saw it happen last year. And if you want to break down the matchups, Washington, he should have had a touchdown. Last week against the Rams, I don't think Ramsey shadowed because you really can't with those receivers. If he can't score against the atrocious Bengals defense, this guy is just – you can't cut him because I know you love D-Jax, but this is a damn shame because I feel like the only thing you want in the Eagles is Miles Sanders and the tight ends. So, the matchup is great. You know what? I'll give you a touchdown. This Bengals secondary is atrocious, guys. But let's be real for you for a second. Mike Williams looked great. Odell Beckham, who was not motivated to do anything, looked great. So I think D-Jax. I think Philly comes out with a sense of urgency. I do think they win this game, to be honest. Here's the only other guy I like on your team, Andre. It's Melvin Gordon. Not because I own him, because I do think he's an underrated running back. I think he takes too much flack. He's matchup proof. I think he will not get you 20-point games in great defenses, but the guy's a phenomenal. Okay, phenomenal is a stretch, but he's an underrated runner, and I do think that he has a chance to score another touchdown with Jeff Driscoll. He's going to get peppered with targets. I'll book him down for 15 points. David Montgomery's in a nice toasty matchup against the Atlanta Falcons. So the way I want to break it down to you is this: I don't like David Montgomery. This is going to be a weird matchup, but I do think David Montgomery finds the end zone again. Andre, if you're smart, you trade him immediately for a receiver because you need help. I think if he scores again, maybe some of the new kids like to chase points. Point Jason Paul is always around. You need to sell his ass because I hate this guy. I don't think he's that good. I think he's a guy who relies on volume, and he's not in a great offense to do that. That's the only reason why I don't like him. And Christian Kirk let me down a lot. I thought he was going to be a breakout candidate. He's clearly just a situational deep threat type of guy, and it's just hard to rely on those guys week in and week out. To be honest, he's like being treated like Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and that's not a guy you want to roster, but you're hurting. New England versus the Vegas Raiders. I don't like this either. I don't like this defensive matchup. I'm going to have to go with Andre. I think the Cleveland defense has a better opportunity to get turnovers. Whereas New England, the Raiders' line is really good, and Derek Carr is a smart quarterback when protected. He's not going to force the ball. They might not score, but I see maybe New England's upside like predicted at 9 to 10. I can't see this being a game-winning defensive stand for you, if that makes any sense. Damn, I went in depth on this match. I didn't expect to do that, but all right. Now I got to pick a winner. It's a gross game. It's a gross game, but I obviously got to pick a winner. Um, again, I don't like any of these teams. David, without Christian McCaffrey, man, you're going to need a lot of luck. And unfortunately, I don't see it, man. I think Mahomes and Hopkins are great. Jackson might catch a touchdown, but this is awful, man. The Andre side of the ball, the one thing I can't hate on completely is he's getting guaranteed volume, but Gurley is awful. Like, he's terrible. Mixon will get volume. Gordon and Montgomery are guaranteed to get volume. So I think with that alone, I got to, give the nod to Dre. But you're not going to like the outcome of the score. I'm going to go Andre 111, David 86. I think this is just going to be okay. No, fine. David 97. I just don't like. I do not like this game. No pun intended. No pun intended. I'm taking a sip of coffee before I get into this spiel. All right. You want me to take this seriously. You don't want me to pull the other people's names that you're out there. But again, like we had talked on the phone, say you have no idea. It's not my team. You go in blindfold. You are not nervous, but we got some narratives to play out. We have a 5-game winning streak. Yours truly against you. I get it. You're a very superstitious man. However, on the other side, there's a narrative that I can't escape, and that's James Conner going over 30 points in 2 career games that he's faced against me. The guy loves killing Nicky D. And he's in a matchup against the Houston freaking Texans. Not a defense that I'm scared of. Okay. They got ran over by Edwards-Helaire. They got ran over by the whole Ravens team. And he looks pretty good. No injury report designation. So you have that narrative. So something's got to give right over here. Do I continue to ride the hot streaks of 5 games? And maybe that's why the line got pushed up. I think it opened up at 116. Now it's up to 123. So maybe they know something, Coffee. Maybe they do. But me and you both know this is bullshit. So let's freaking break it down. Coffee, I'll be as honest as I can be. I'm not going to be any bias to you, okay? Quarterback matchup, I think, is the only matchup where there is going to be a distinct coin flip. Mr. Coffee, I think you can kind of agree with that with yourself. Again, I don't know if your receivers are healthy, so I know you're going to be like, hey, yo, you dealing with some shit? I'm dealing with some shit. So I get it. Kyler and Dak should be fine. I think they're both going to hit over 30. Dallas is getting killed in this game. I got news for you. They're going to be in a weird-esque shootout, but it's going to be too late. It's going to be too late, Mr. Coffee. It's going to be too late. They're going to lose the game. But I think Dak gives you a lot of points. And as of right now, if Kyler Murray keeps running around in circles, he's going to break over 20 every week. So I'll go draw here. Okay. Wide receiver 1, Calvin Ridley. Chris Godwin. Hopefully he's healthy for you in this one. Taking on Devontae Parker and Robert Woods. Well, if you look at the projections, Coffee, looks like we're having ourselves a game here, kid. Calvin Ridley will score 2 touchdowns for the 3rd straight week in a row, making him everybody's favorite fantasy player. He's going to be the guy that's going to be on Twitter that everybody's going to be talking about. Oh my God, like how could we have been so wrong to, doubt Calvin Ridley as a 3rd round pick? Why did he fall to the 4th? Everybody is going to be screenshotting and saying to all those who didn't take Calvin Ridley, thank you. It's going to be that. Look, it's the Bears. The only way he doesn't score 2 touchdowns is if Mitch sucks and their defense is stopping the Atlanta Falcons. That is a realm of possibility. It could be a slow game and nobody can move the ball. But I'm not buying it, bro. Calvin Ridley goes for 22. Godwin against Denver. Okay, well, we know the narrative. Coffee. I'm trying to give you negative narratives so you know that I'm going to take this seriously because I know you don't want me to get off of here in 5 minutes. Try to be as detailed as I can. Okay, Brady's worst place that he likes. He does not like playing in Mile High. He's not very good there. Godwin and the whole Bucs receiving corps is not in sync with Mr. Brady. Okay, Denver Broncos defense is no longer good, guys, and they are no longer a great football team. However, you know, Godwin should be open over the middle of the field, man. He should. I don't see this defense stopping him because they can't stop him and Evans. Fournette is clearly the starter. I get that. Maybe they run him in Denver. Who knows? But look, he's a good floor play. I think he's what he was last year again. I think he sets the bar. You know, if he doesn't score, it's 10 to 12. If he scores, it's like 18 to 20. So whatever. I think it's fine. Let's talk about my guys. Parker, off the injury report, says that he's going to deal with a hamstring injury. This is probably his better matchup that he had. You know, the last two were against pretty good cornerbacks. So okay, Coffey, I get why you would be a little bit nervous. That's fine. This could also be a shootout. And he has potential to go off because he's a playmaker. I get it, Coffey. I get it. I'm trying to be nice here. I'm trying to call this as an actual commentator. Robert Woods, I don't like the matchup, but again, Rob Coffey, you're forgetting about the revenge game. All right, Coffey, look, you sold me again. Maybe I am in this matchup. I didn't even realize there was a revenge game. Robert Woods against the Bills. I don't know if he's ever faced them before. I don't know. Who cares? I mean, does it really matter? So I think his rushing floor, like Robert Woods is going to be a floor. It's either going to be 10 to 13. It's never going to be anything else. Devontae Parker is the one guy that has potential to go off. So there's a possibility Parker and Ridley could match up. Maybe, Coffey. I don't know. I'm not the one who calls. Coffey, here's the part where I'm just going to skip right through it. We know that Connor and Sanders will combine for at least 40 points. Whether it comes for 20 apiece or Miles Sanders gets 10, because you know Connor's getting 30, bro. Yo, don't be jinxed. Coffey, relax. I'm calling it as it is. My side of the ball. I have a secret weapon that I will unveil to you Sunday right before kickoff. I'm not telling you who it is. You're going to text me. You're going to be like, not being slick. We know who it is. I got that. But it won't be Deion Lewis. But I will take Josh Kelly in a good Panthers matchup. Dude, who cares? He's a touchdown guy. So 12 points back to back. Not bad, considering I don't have running backs. So, but clearly, Coffey, me and you can both agree we're taking you on the running back side of things. All right. Mr. Hawkinson versus Mr. Dalton Schultz. Hawkinson should easily win this matchup, Coffey, but I'm not buying Dalton Schultz. I'm that desperate that I have to. There's a difference between a need and a want. I need this. I didn't want him, so that's why I claimed him. And you can understand that. The game is shootout potential, though, and if Dallas does fall behind, dink and dunk deck, maybe looks to Lamb and Dalton Schultz, who sucks, but hey. This is where things get interesting because I do think that if my running backs can at least be within 10 to 15 of yours, which is highly unlikely, maybe this is where the matchup gets won. Will Fuller dealing with a hammy. Michael Gallup, Coffey, I respect you going with the Dallas fourth guy in the passing game and rolling back with him. So you got Fuller, you got Gallup, you got DJ Moore, you got Tyler Lockett. Here's how I'm going to break it down. Lockett in a shootout, I think, is nice. Fuller, we don't know the health. Gallup, we don't know what's happening with Michael Gallup, man. I don't know. I didn't think he was going to be this bad. Like I liked him, but the realm of possibility if you avoided Gallup was because they bought in CeeDee Lamb, and I just feel like, Cooper's the one, and Lamb is the easy targets that he wants to go to. DJ Moore is interesting because now I do feel like his projections should go up. No Christian McCaffrey. They're not going to be able to run the ball that well. And they are going to be playing from behind a lot. So whoever this offensive coordinator is, man, they're going to have to be having a million pages in the playbook. Moore could be interesting. I really think he could be interesting, to be honest. If you want me to get hyped up about something, then it's that. Indy's defense against the Jets, though, might seal you that victory. Look, as I'm calling this right now, Coffey, you're like, you see, this might not be a gimme. I get it. But it's Indy's D against the Jets, bro. Signed, sealed, and delivered, bro. Look, I'm just shot in the dark with Philadelphia. There's a sense of urgency. They're 0-2. They could probably get to Burrow because Burrow has been pressured a lot. Their line sucks. So maybe we get some block kicks, special teams. The game is in Philly, too. I don't know if that matters. Yeah, there's got to be a sense of urgency for Philadelphia. Coffee, the only way I beat you, man, is your guys aren't healthy or they just flat out just lay a dud. Because my running backs cannot keep up with what you have. Although I will say that if my running backs have potential to score in decent matchups and the secret weapon is there, there's a possibility this gets pretty close. But my recipe for success means that because I don't have a tight end depth, I would need all my receivers to at least break double digits, meaning that those running backs score 2 touchdowns and Murray continues to do Kyler Murray things. But what I just named to you is a lot, and I think you understand that and you know that. Coffee, honestly, I think if your running backs prove to be the workhorse guys like they are, because they're popular DraftKings picks this week too, this shouldn't be that difficult for you, considering that I don't have a lot of great running back depth. But I will finally say, though, I do think that this matchup could be very, very close. Here's what I will say. My bold prediction on this matchup, and this is bold because my team has yet to cross 100. That's the first one. But I do think with given the right matchups, I'm not done by any means. I'll try my best to get these guys motivated and get them there. But I will say that both teams break over 120. I do think that might be a bold prediction. So the more and more I look at it, there is some positive game scripts to some of the guys that I have. So maybe that's it, but those are my keys to victory. Coffee, I hope you enjoyed that. You did not, and there is the narratives. I get it. So who knows? Okay. I really don't know what to think of these two teams. David Krier, you had a move that cost you. Being a Deshaun Watson owner, I know I didn't talk about this on the recap, but I had Deshaun Watson last year. Love the guy to death, but he's never gonna be good against the Baltimore Ravens because that defense is just stacked, and his weapons suck this year. And that's why, as much as I loved him, I was gonna pass on him. All right, so you're taking on Allen's team, and look, he's playing guess who as he always does in his lineup. But I'll tell you what happens. So Big Ben, Cam Newton against the Vegas Raiders. He'll get at least 2 touchdowns, has possibility to get 3. So love me some Cam. Ben against Houston shouldn't be terrible. Allen, if you're listening. Ben still doesn't look great to me, though, but he is extending plays like classic Roethlisberger does. So you have that going for you. Okay, Robbie Anderson becomes interesting now because the Carolina Panthers are going to be, if they weren't going to be behind from before, they're trailing every game now without Christian McCaffrey. DK, Juju should be fine. DK Metcalf, if you want my honest personal opinion, he's going to feast. There's an empty receiver spot. Swift and Mike Davis. DeAndre Swift is a buy low for anybody who needs a running back. He is a guy that I would heavily target into trading for. Kenyon Drake against Detroit should get back on the map for you. He should score a touchdown. I don't like his long-term outlook as a Chase Edmonds owner, obviously, but he rushed the ball 20 times last game. And I think this is another game where they should be up. Keyword is should. Dalvin Cook against Tennessee, I think, he's doing everything you wanted when you drafted him. He is. Running back is a slam dunk. Dallas Goedert versus Logan Thomas. Give me Dallas Goedert. You're going back to the well with Ronald Jones, and I think that's ballsy because I definitely don't like his outcome after he fumbled the ball. The guy's always been on a short leash with Bruce Arians. John Brown, great steal. I had the guy last year. I flipped him. He's a great receiver, and he's definitely starter worthy. Pittsburgh will get to Watson a lot. Washington defense against Cleveland, kind of underrated, but I don't know. So Allen, look, if you're really gonna play Quintez Cephas, cool. I'm just gonna you know what? I'm gonna name all your guys. So Kenny Golladay, if he plays, he's starting. I mean that's a given. Valdez Scantling, I never liked him. I think he's just a deep threat guy. Anthony Miller was MIA last week. He's not playing. The other guy, I don't know the rookie's name. Can't think of who it is, but he's playing more snaps than Anthony Miller. Just something to keep an eye on. Naheem Hines was not a cheat code. They did say and come out that game script, and this is not a game script for him. Dobbins, you can't start until there's an injury. I just think he's very unpredictable. You got a lot of unpredictable guys. Krier, he's going to start McLaurin as a Washington football fan, so that's a given. Chark plays on Thursday night in a shootout potential game. If the injury, is not serious, he should be out there. Michael Thomas, we don't know. So I think Allen's thing is he's got to play the waiting game with these wide receivers, because it's like, okay, if his studs are definitely coming back, then that probably makes him not want to play Chark if he wants to wait it out. So it's interesting management move here by Allen's part, but regardless, I don't think it makes that much of a difference. And I got to go with Krier just because there's so much uncertainty with the Allen side of the ball. Allen, I will say the one thing that is underrated that people are, if you want to say, sleeping on, Mike Davis could be slept on, but Krier, you have an interesting piece. I don't know if you realize this. Mike Davis caught 8 balls. That's more than McCaffrey did, man. That's hilarious. So if he's going to be, check down city, it's a great buy. Great buy, Allen. So he might fit in for Allen's long-term plans until one of the other guys takes over. So he's taking it one day at a time, Allen. So I do like that. But I don't know the health of your receivers, which makes me concerned. So that's the only reason why I'd pick against you. Krier, interesting thing about Carolina. I don't know if you dropped them yet. I want to double check. No, you didn't. Curtis Samuel, I do believe, is going to get a lot of carries in this backfield. I would not be at all shocked if they run a lot of trickery packages, end arounds, reverses, and even line him up in the backfield to get him lined up with a linebacker. That is something that a lot of teams are starting to do nowadays because by default, he's in the, unless they play a smaller package, they got to account for him. When I talk about this matchup, this one to me is a slam dunk. I say kind of candidate matchup of the week, but unfortunately with the Cortland Sutton news, I'm a little bit down on this one team. Can't. That sucks, man. Deontay Harris on the. He used to be on the Broncos. He's on the Saints now? Oh, look at that. Didn't even realize that. Okay. Russell Wilson and Lamar Jackson going head-to-head. Great quarterback matchup. Russ is cooking, and Lamar should be fine. I think they cancel each other out. I think you guys will be happy with what you got. Mike Evans, Deontay Harris getting the start. Very ballsy, Patrick. Patrick, I know our league is different with the return yardage. Deontay Harris, this is why I sent you a trade for a receiver. He's not going to be a guy you can rely on week in and week out. You're relying on a kick return touchdown, which is hard. So Michael Evans, Deontay Harris, like Mike Evans a lot against Denver. I think he should really tower over these small cornerbacks that they have. Boyd against Philly, Kupp against Buffalo. Kupp is the receiver to own this week for the Rams. He's got the matchup you want. Paul, we were talking. Boyd didn't do anything until garbage time. I am a little bit concerned. But if Philly gets out to a hefty lead, he's going to be a garbage time king. He's going to be, you know what he might be? He might be what we actually thought DJ Chark was going to be this year, and it's just literally if the Bengals are in garbage time. But I am still concerned that it's 8 targets, which isn't bad, but there are now 3 other receivers that are running over the middle of the field, which makes me very concerned to own Tyler Boyd because that's why I liked him. I didn't think anybody else could go over the middle. Kamara and Singletary. Let me just double check on Devin Singletary. Yeah, Devin Singletary not being fantasy relevant because Zach Moss is in town now. Not a big Singletary guy to begin with. It's not a great matchup. Kamara will get you close to 20 to 30 a week. He's fine. Edwards-Helaire in a very tough matchup. You started to see something interesting, Paul, which you might be a little concerned about. But then again, the 8 targets really saved his freaking day, man. It sounded like John Gruden there for a second. I didn't mean to, but they abandoned the run game with him. But now you saw a game script, like when they're trailing behind, they targeted him 8 times. So you love to see that. Dude, this guy is awesome. Paul, call it hindsight all you want. He was probably going to be my number 2 pick if I didn't want Barkley there. It was just, did I want to go safe? And I unfortunately shot myself in the foot. And then Carson's been phenomenal. Something to keep in mind, Paul, he's caught touchdowns. I know you're probably laughing at me for saying he wouldn't do it, and now it's the weirdest crap. I don't know. And his rushing totals are back up. And against Dallas Cowboys, loving what I'm seeing here. I like your running backs. Kelsey over Hurst any day of the week. Brandon Ayuk against the Giants with Nick Mullins. Man, you are hurting at wide receiver, man. You are really hurting at wide receiver. Ayuk with Nick Mullins, I don't like. Landry against Washington, if he's healthy, he should be out there. Diggs, great trade by you, Paul. Love him a lot. I don't know if Ramsey shadows him or Brown. My guess would be Diggs, but I don't think it matters that much. Deontay Johnson, another great pick by you, Paul, and you got him at his value. You didn't have to reach for him, which was even more impressive. Deontay, he's the wide receiver one in Pittsburgh. You heard it. This isn't even a bold prediction. I think I even knew this was going to happen. Juju is just a slot-only guy. So, L.A. Chargers. I said Clippers. L.A. Chargers, Buffalo Bills. Give me the Chargers in this one. Paul with the sneaky pickup before even waivers hit. Paul, you're on the money, man. I mean, this is a slam dunk pick for me. I know it's close in the projections, but I got to go with my man, Big Paul, who is, knock on wood, staying healthy. So you love to see that. And Mr. Paul, you even got a lot of good bench guys you could even roll out there as well. I'm gonna ride Paul. I'm gonna keep riding that hot streak. All right, we're back. We're back. We're back. This is the card before the main event. And I think these teams were interesting. B Magic, I'm not gonna lie straight to your face, my man. I would have not done that trade, my man. I really would not have done that trade. In my personal opinion, Johnny is a very good salesman. He likes to talk a lot of bullshit, and I think you bought it. But I get why you did it. You were nervous about the quarterback play. You were also nervous about not having a tight end because you saw two donuts. Look, I don't have a tight end either. Brother, I know where you're coming from. But I think in the long term, you're definitely going to regret that. I understand Mostert was the guy I understand that you were a little iffy about because an injury to a running back, MCL sprain, it could really, cost him in the long term. So I get that, but man, Thielen looked like he was going to get a lot of targets, man. So now you take on Alex. I don't know if you know anything about Harsh, but he loves your team now, which is not good because he cursed my team. Josh Allen versus Aaron Rodgers. B Magic without Devontae Adams. I don't like Aaron Rodgers, bro. It's going to be the Aaron Jones show, which you have, so it's fine. So you hedge your bets, get it. But Josh Allen, got to give it to him. Keenan and Russell Gage, Amari Cooper, AJ Green. Cooper and Green will have field days. AJ Green is getting targets. He's getting he is getting targets. 9 targets, 13 targets, but he's out of shape. Dude, he looked gassed in that Thursday night game. They had to take him out on a lot of plays. I'm still going with that. Keenan and Russell Gage. Russell Gage is an interesting buy because he's gotten 15 and 13 points. And the Falcons can't run the ball, so they have to throw. Russell Gage, man, that is the interesting thing from your deal, B Magic, because I do feel like, there's a possibility where he could definitely live up to expectations. And if that's the case, man, then good riddance stealing. So he's heavily involved. Zeke and Aaron Jones. B Magic, I loved your first 3 picks of the draft. And you have officially, with all the injuries now, have the best running back combo I think this league has ever seen. So I want to anoint you on that, my friend. And being as somebody who is a self-proclaimed RB whisperer, look, man, this combination, you're going to have the running back 1 and running back 2 by season's end, by far. I don't think it's close. Aaron Jones is a god, man. I love that guy. I'm so mad I couldn't get him this year, man. Zeke Elliott, beast. Don't even get me started about because I took Barkley, but hey. Josh Jacobs, Nick Chubb against Washington should find the end zone. I know it's a tough matchup, but he should find it fine. He's a great running back. Josh Jacobs, look, love the usage of Josh Jacobs, man. He might not get you 33 again, but love it. But no disrespect to Alex's running backs, which are very good. Elliott and Jones is the way to go, my friend. Zach Ertz versus Tyler Higbee. I'm really not big on these guys in this matchup. Zach Ertz, as long as what's-his-face Goddard is around, he's not a tight end 1 anymore, man. Tyler Higbee went off, dude, against Philly. I don't think he does it here, though. Darius Slayton, Mike Williams, CeeDee Lamb, Chase Claypool. This has to be the most intriguing wide receiver flex matchups. Slayton should be getting a lot of targets, and he might score against San Fran. Their defense is depleted, especially at the back end. Mike Williams almost caught a touchdown, if not for Tyrann Mathieu swatting the ball out at the last second. So, there are touchdown potentials on both sides. I don't know if Lamb is a guy who gets you touchdowns, but CeeDee Lamb is – and he's returned. This is a cheat code guy. I love him. CeeDee Lamb looking like for fantasy, he's the wide receiver 2 in Dallas. Okay, B Magic, you're getting really risky here with Chase Claypool, but I love it. But Chase Claypool to me is a touchdown or bust type of guy. So does he score against Houston? He most certainly could, but it's hard to rely on those guys who are deep threats and they're not used all the time. So not too confident in that. So I probably would go to the Alex side of the ball. Chicago against Atlanta. Yeah, I'm not big on that defensive matchup. Oh, not Giants. Niners against the Giants should feast. Look, they're staying in the same stadium too, which is weird. That's happened to the Dolphins, I think, last year as well. Bottom line is this is an interesting game. And if you want my honest opinion, I do think it's going to be weird scoring. But I am going to have to go with Alex. I do think that B Magic's running backs get off to a hot start. But I don't know if the receivers now, because he got rid of Thielen, I don't know if you have enough firepower to keep up with, because I think Jacobs and Chubb could come within 15 points a year, 2 running backs. And I like Cooper, Green, and Slayton. And I'm not so hot on Keenan Allen and Claypool. Plus, we don't know who the Chargers quarterback is going to be, which is also kind of a big knock. But Josh Allen is going to outscore Aaron Rodgers. I think Cooper and Green outscore Allen and Gage. B Magic, you have the advantage in the RB department, but I think everything else is kind of a toss-up. You could go either way with it. Gotta go Alex here. Well, Harsh, your prediction was correct. This is the matchup of the week. Let's recap. Harsh, you're dealing with some major injuries right now, and I still love your team because you still have a lot of guys that you picked up. Look, Johnny being the salesman that he is, he's a bullshit car salesman. He can sell anything to anybody that doesn't know his antics. And unfortunately, shit happened again. Now, bottom line, look, say what you want. Everything's legal. Everything is legal. There's nothing wrong with it. Obviously, I think everybody in B Magic's position would definitely not do that trade. Johnny knows how to talk his way into a trade. So, regardless of how you think about the situation, your opinion can be your opinion. But this is now, and I've got news for you because I think the last 3 drafts, Johnny's drafts has not looked very promising, but he's wheeled and dealed his way out of them. I think his drafts have gone down, but his management, it used to be the opposite. It used to be, and that's why he has a ring now, maybe, I guess, but it used to be drafts were great, management sucked, and now it's the reverse. It's drafts suck, management great. It's my personal opinion. Johnny, you definitely filled one of your holes now because I really was not big on any of the situations that you had going. Look, say what you want. Harsh, I'm sorry. I know you want to get to the matchup, but having 3 tight ends is like saying you got like 3 Tootsie Rolls instead of 1. It's good, but it's not. That doesn't do anything. Look. The reason why I don't like tight ends is because they have to hit value based on touchdowns alone, not yards. The only one who is like that is Darren Waller, and if you think I'm wrong, I'm not. This is why I always fade tight ends. Darren Waller is the only one that was on my consideration of ever reaching on. There are 2, and look, we can predict game script, we can predict receptions, we can predict yards. Predicting touchdowns at that position is very hard to come by. So, yeah, Higbee went off. But, again, if you have 3 great tight ends, to me that doesn't mean anything. And when you're starting tight ends, it always shows me some sign of nervousness. Okay, I'm sorry. Wentz versus Gardner Minshew. Give me Gardner Minshew by a mile. Dude, I know the Bengals suck, and I get it. But Jalen Rager's out. He only has the tight ends to throw to. Miles Sanders is going to have to be leaned on a lot. Minshew in a fast-paced matchup with no defense. Byron Jones is definitely out of this game, to my opinion. Minshew is spreading the ball, too. Nobody is talking about that. He did look great on a Thursday night game in his Thursday night debut last year. Ladies and gentlemen, the Jaguars live for Thursday night games. And Gardner Minshew, harsh. Look, I love Gardner Minshew myself, but the guy's putting up Mahomes-esque numbers first 2 weeks of the season, bro. Congrats. Enjoy the high. I think Minshew breaks 32, and I think Carson Wentz gets 22. Oh, gross. I'm sorry. I just realized we have to start at receiver. Allen Robinson, Adam Thielen. Okay, you're reunited with your boy. Adam Thielen, again, I could be wrong on him every single year, Johnny, and you could rub it in my face, and that's fine. My situation, though, now, I've never seen Adam Thielen be the quote-unquote alpha alone without Stephon Diggs. Week 1, he looked great, but it was all in garbage time. Keep that in mind. And last week, in a neutral game pace for most of the game, they blanketed him. This is why I fade guys who are slot receiver guys who have never proven to take on a full workload without an outside alpha. And this was one of the guys that I was very hesitant on. For example, last year I was off of Tyler Boyd once A.J. Green got hurt. I like him with Green. With Andy Dalton, like it's a total different situation now. I get that, but Jarvis Landry, first year in Cleveland, no alpha on the outside, looked great for the first 2 weeks. Then the defensive coordinator said, "Hey, we got to blanket this guy because they can't throw outside the hash marks." He's another one that did not work out. I mean, the list is just piled up. There are only 2 guys in the league in this modern day era of the pass first league that have proven to be alphas in the slot without a proven guy on the outside, and that is Keenan Allen, and that is Russell Wilson slot receivers, because guess what? Every play breaks down because their line isn't that good. Those are the only 2 guys. If I'm missing somebody, I apologize, but they are the only slot guys that have never had a proven alpha on the outside. That's it. And it's hard to find those guys on a consistent year-in-year basis. You want to make the argument with T.Y. Hilton? I don't include him because I think T.Y. Hilton is very reliant on Andrew Luck. That's an outlier, okay? Glad we got that covered with. Allen Robinson, Jay, if he doesn't get it done in the Atlanta Falcons game, this guy is a waste of a pick. And I'm shocked. This is why I didn't want to buy into fantasy hype. He was a guy I liked in the 4th round, and he got hyped up as a top 10 receiver. Mitch Trubisky is like, he's got Baker Mayfield syndrome with Odell Beckham. And funny because you have both of them. But look, let's not stress about it. You're going to beat him in the receiver department in this one. Derrick Henry, Eckler, Jonathan Taylor, James Robinson. First off, this running back combo for Harsh is very underrated. I love it. I love both the matchups that both of these guys are in. If you watch highlights of James Robinson, this guy is a freaking monster. Jonathan Taylor, also a beast, is going to get most of the carries in a positive game script situation. Will find the end zone. Derrick Henry against Minnesota didn't look very good yet. I think his upside is capped at 20 when it's not December. And I think Austin Eckler is interesting because we don't know about Tyrod Taylor's health as I'm recording this right now. Therefore, putting him in a very interesting situation. So, with that being said, if I'm weighing out my options here, it's tough because Harsh's matchups are really good, but I think the volume is guaranteed on Jay's side. So, what do I like? Taylor will score. James Robinson will score. Can't say the same about Derrick Henry and Austin Eckler with Josh Kelly looming, but if Eckler has Herbert, you're going to get a floor pick. If Derrick Henry doesn't, you know what I'm saying? I actually think this is going to be a draw. I do think that these running back matchups cancel each other out. Great tight end matchup we got. Mark Andrews versus Darren Waller. Harsh, I do apologize what I'm about to say. Darren Waller went off on a primetime television spot, and Bill Belichick is going to game plan to stop him. Darren Waller is going to be my bust of the week, even though I love the guy. Mark Andrews will score 2 touchdowns, advantage Jay. Odell Beckham, Julian Edelman, Tyreek Hill. It's Marquise Brown. I clearly love the Harsh side. I mean, without a doubt. I am not stressing about anything on that Harsh side of the ball. Here's my thing with Edelman, Johnny. I think now we have 2 situations of the Patriots, right? We have when they're up versus where they're trailing. And I think In a game where I expect New England to win and be up, I think Edelman is capped out at 10 to 12 points. This is not a game where I think he's going to have that upside against Seattle like he did. Odell Beckham against Washington, I'm not big on it. Not big on it. Dude, he just doesn't care. I think he doesn't care, dude. Like, even the touchdown he scored, dude, he was kind of just like, whatever. I'm not big on Odell Beckham. New Orleans, they're at home against Green Bay without Devontae Adams. I think the defense, after getting embarrassed, should look great in another primetime spot. What do you know? The Tampa defense against Jeff Driscoll, though, harsh. Congratulations, because you might get the first 30-point burger defense game, maybe. I don't know. Let's call a winner because this matchup is extremely interesting. Jay, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you. Harsh's injuries might have forced him out of a W because I do think a healthy Harsh team I would have easily picked. But the fact that you're starting Bryan Edwards and Adam Humphries, I can't get behind this. That's my deciding factor. It's the easiest cop-out in the world. But I do think even though Jay's flexes I said I didn't like over Harsh's, they're going to outperform Humphries and Edwards. At least to my extent, I think they will. But I do think that this match becomes very interesting. Johnny rebuilding his team now goes from a floor of 110 to an upside of 125 to now probably a floor of 115 to 120 to an upside of I don't know what the upside is yet. I really don't because I don't like what I'm seeing out of Allen Robinson and Odell Beckham, to be honest. So and I'm factoring in Derrick Henry. Not if you're asking your team, Johnny, in December, I'll say your upside is 150 plus, but it's not yet. So I'll say upside is capped probably at 130 and what did I miss? 130, 140 range, something like that. So that's the way I'm going to call it. Harsh, the injuries are going to, but your point total is going to look good. You are going to be like, you're going to be that team that I was every year where I would start off slow, but with having a lot of point totals. I think that's what you're going to be looking at. Should be an interesting game, should be an interesting week. That's what I'm going to say.